Good morning, Anne.
Good morning, James.
And good morning, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully, you are all having a wonderful Sunday or a wonderful day of the week, dependent upon when you are listening. So here we are again, Anne.
Yes.
And as always, we genuinely do not know what we are going to discuss, do we?
No, we don't.
We shall just see where it goes. And fingers crossed, you all find it of some interest. That's the plan anyway.
Yes.
And hopefully we'll enjoy ourselves and you will all enjoy listening.
Okay.
Are you happy to begin, Anne?
I am happy to begin, yes.
Okay. Where would you like to start this week?
I'd like to start with the time of year.
Okay.
Because I think it's a time of year of reflection as much as anything else at this time of the year, because it's endings and beginnings.
Yes.
And during these endings and beginnings, we can reflect back on the year we've had, but look forward to a new year and what would we change? I've been thinking about it today, and I've been thinking about gratitude.
Okay.
I think that's one thing I would like to change on this planet is gratitude.
Okay.
Are we grateful for life itself? Are we grateful for the life that we've had? Are we grateful for health? How do our children learn gratitude? Do they learn it by writing a letter in the first instance, or you writing a letter for your children to say thank you to the grandparents? When my mother died, I was surprised that she had every thank you letter from my children.
Yes.
So obviously she treasured them.
Yes.
So by not doing this now, by not writing that thank you letter personally, are we taking joy from somebody else's life as well?
Yes.
So gratitude seems to cover a wide spectrum.
It does.
Not just what we're saying at that one moment is, do we then start looking at ourselves? Or I myself have been looking at myself and thinking, what am I grateful for?
Yes.
What should I be grateful for? Should I be grateful for getting up in the morning and being able to walk?
Yes.
Being able to see? Is that a form? Do you think that's a form of gratitude that we should be aware of?
So the simplicity of being alive.
Yes.
In any which way, shape or form.
Yes.
There is a level of gratitude that can be brought into any one of our experiences.
Yes, that's what I'm saying and asking.
On an everyday level. I would agree, yes. My initial thoughts, feelings are that it's a very important subject. Not just at this time of year, heightened at this time of year, but certainly all year, all time. Gratitude is something that we are responsible for upkeeping, and you've spoken about the letters you had to write as a child.
Yes.
And the letters that your mother kept from her grandchildren,
Yes.
your children, as treasures, as memories,
Yes.
as an important moment, captured in a feeling, captured in writing.
Yes.
Something that truly is of worth and of value, that is human. And that required an effort, that required a conscious will to take out the paper, the pen, the pad, and write with the pen and actually post or pass the envelope, the letter to the person. It requires an action. So gratitude requires us to action the feeling that we have inside of ourselves. And that's true for all feelings, not just gratitude. But specifically for gratitude, that which we are ungrateful for and that which in life ungratefulness thrives is in the apathy, the absence of gratitude. So maybe what we are exploring and what you've brought to the fore is that we've stopped actioning our gratitude. We've stopped consciously being aware of how we feel in any given moment. And if we are grateful for something, someone, do we say something? Do we do something? How are we actioning that? And the less we action it, the less consciously aware we are of it. And in that space, in that gap, in that void, grows apathy. And that apathy leads to ungratefulness. So, as simply put, hopefully and understandable, is that Gratitude is a conscious action. It's a conscious choice. Ungratefulness is the absence of gratitude. It's the non-action, the non-conscious choice. It's the non-awareness. The potential is in equal measure, and the responsibility for us to be grateful, for our children to be grateful, and our society and world to be grateful is on us. It's our responsibility to bring it forth, to bring it out of ourselves to action in any given moment. It doesn't necessarily, in my knowing, have to be grandiose or demonstrable. It can be subtle. It doesn't have to have an audience. We can be grateful for the earth beneath our feet, for the air that is around us, for the sun that's in the sky, and we can say thank you. We don't need to announce it to the world, or we can announce it to the world. I'm not putting a preference on right or wrong, but I do feel that we all, including you or I, are unconsciously living moment to moment more and more, and apathy has set in, and a lack of care and a lack of awareness is growing, and in that, an ungrateful world.
So on a basic level, a very basic level,
Yes.
is as soon as your child learns to make noises,
Yes.
I mean make noises, not talk properly, you start teaching it to say thank you
Yes.
and please. It may not come out as those words, but you teach it to be aware that when they're given something, it is a thank you and a please. And so in another way, that also is teaching a tiny child gratitude. But if it's not taught that at that age, if we're not teaching our children that we should show our gratitude,
Yes.
I think what's happening in society now is people are not showing gratitude because they haven't even been taught at a young age.
Yes.
So they have to be aware. We have to be made aware of all of life, don't we? And I suppose the niceties of life that make us feel good. So if I give somebody a present,
Yes.
I only need them to say thank you. I don't need them to be enthusiastic about the present, although that would be nice.
Yes.
But to know that they genuinely say, if you say, thank you, I'm so pleased.
Yes.
Whereas if you give somebody a gift and they just take it
Yes.
and open it, it doesn't make you feel good.
Yes.
I know that's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because then, am I giving the present to make me feel good? In life, there's always
Both.
dichotomy of both.
Yeah, dichotomy. Yeah. It's a tongue twister. It is. Yes, you're right. And also, people show gratitude in different ways.
Yes.
Lots of people are quiet with their gratitude, and lots of people are more demonstrative with their
Yes.
gratitude. So personality plays a factor as well. I sense really we're looking at sincerity
Yes.
and being genuine. And that's true for all facets of life. And please and thank you can be hollow words, or they can be words of meaning.
Yes.
And that's true for any words. It's not so much the words that are uttered, but the utterer of the words, the speaker, not necessarily that which is spoken. That is the origin. The words themselves carry the signature of the author. So where we put our energy, where our attention is the signature of the energy that goes out. Better a word said genuinely than 1,000 words said in bluster and bluff.
I agree.
Someone who gushes and makes a big song and dance about being grateful or any particular feeling, thought, action.
So that's the same with love.
One genuine thank you, or maybe just a touch or a hug, or it could be anything simple, can be more refined, more impactful, more important even than the noise and ceremony that life has become. I mean, how many presents are on the living room floor for all of the children now?
Far too many.
Far too many. We live in such a time where we have children with nothing and we have children with so much. We have children who have every present given to them under the sun, figuratively speaking, and are unhappy. We have a child who can be given nothing and can find fascination in the smallest of things. Life and gratitude has the opportunity to be explored in any given moment, in any given situation, and with any given person. Something like water, as an example, very, very simple example. The vast majority of us, because we have water on tap, we aren't consciously particularly grateful for water. That is not the same as saying we are ungrateful actively, but we go to fill up the kettle, we go to pour ourselves and fill up a glass of water and we drink it, or we boil it and we make a cup of tea, a coffee, a hot drink, and we carry on with our day. Now, if we were to remove the access to tap water and we had to put an action in there, all of a sudden our cups of tea, our coffees, having a shower, particularly a hot shower, we would
Going to the toilet.
Going to the toilet, absolutely.
Can't flush it.
We would become a lot more actively grateful because our awareness would be drawn to how precious, how important, how helpful water is. And not only water in and of itself, but the systems of water that we've set up, the plumbing systems, the skill of the plumber, the craftsmanship, the ingenuity, the engineering, the skill. I mean, plumbing requires an art.
Yes.
Building requires an art. And then we have the glass, if you pay attention to the glass, how it's shaped, how it's blown, how it's moulded into its form, how it holds the water. Hot water, how that water is heated, and how that heated water then can be absorbed into our body and gives us a sense of comfort and pleasure, as well as clean and refresh and rejuvenate us. We have around us a world that is giving so much in every given moment if we pay attention to it. An ice cube on a hot day. And if you are lucky, an ice lolly on a hot day.
What about the fire, if you have a real fire in a room?
Ah, yes, a roaring fire with logs and coal, and you get to watch the flames, watch them dance as they lick up the side of the fire, and you absorb the heat into your bones, and it washes away, it's cathartic, and it soothes the soul. It's just wonderful. It is wonderful. The sound of silence, the sound of the birds, the rustle of the wind in the trees. And I know this is very poetically put and, in a sense, whimsical and seemingly idealistic, as always. But everything that's being expressed that you and I are touching upon are, to a greater or lesser extent, available to everybody in one form, shape or another. And they're part of our lives, and we are, including us, often overlooking this.
Yes.
And we are growing discontented. We are growing in discontent. We are unsatisfied with our life experience. Not everybody, but it's growing, and people are feeling hollow. And gratitude is a wonderful place to start, to build a sense of meaning, to build a connection to the world around us, to the people around us. We may not meet the plumber that lays the pipes, but we can be grateful for them. If that makes sense. I truly hope that it does.
It does make sense, but it also makes me understand that it's a lot of it, as we're talking about, is attitude, isn't it? And most people are becoming self-absorbed.
Yes.
They're self-absorbed, they're not seeing beyond themselves. So in the morning, do we get up and think, oh, I've opened my eyes, I can see. I do think that because I've gone through a period of having problems with my eyes, and at one point I couldn't see. So I do wake up and open my eyes and think how wonderful it is to have sight. I also value the experience for that very, very short period where I didn't have sight, because that also taught me a lot. So by not having sight, it made me understand how somebody who doesn't have it. And I'm one of those people who used to think that when somebody had a white stick, and they were flopping it all over the pavement, I used to think, I'm sure they must do that for effect, and how bad is that? But I honestly did think that.
Okay.
And once I couldn't see, I realised why they had to use the stick, because you don't know where hedgings are, and you don't know how far forward that hedging is going to be. So they do have to go in a wide arc with that stick to make sure there's not a lamppost there.
Right, okay.
Because you can see shapes.
Yes.
But you can't actually see distance.
Or depth.
Yes.
That makes sense.
So that taught me an awful lot for that very short period.
So it brought you back to an appreciation for the simplicity of being able to see. Which is truly a gift.
Yes. but one of the greatest gifts.
Absolutely.
One of the greatest gifts there is.
I mean, I won't forget when you were walking around with that big magnifying glass looking like the Monopoly man. Anne had an operation on her eye. I hope you don't mind me
No, I
saying
don't
this
mind
because
at
you
all,
brought
no.
it up. Anne had an operation on her eye. It was a cataract removal that didn't go to plan and ended up with her losing sight in her good eye. So Anne has one particularly good eye and another eye that she can see out of, but not particularly strongly. And she lost sight in her good eye. So effectively, she was visually impaired. A story for another day. But in the meantime, while she was waiting for another operation for it to be sorted, you got yourself, I don't know what you call them, but an eyeglass where...
Yes.
Yes, and it really was like the Monopoly man with this. It was like the bottom of a milk jar that you held up to your eye, and you're holding everything really close to your face. I know it's a serious subject, and it's certainly meaningful in how you've explained it. But it was quite funny watching you read things and hold it up to your face with a huge eyeglass.
And it teaches us an awful lot about ourselves, doesn't it?
Yes.
So I could have quite easily just sat in a chair and not done anything or not tried to do things or let people do them for me.
And would you have got better if you didn't? If you didn't get up, if you didn't actively motivate yourself to move and to actively make it come back?
I don't
in
think
terms
anybody
of propel
does.
people to sort your eye out.
No, I don't think anybody, with no matter what the ailment is, unless you push yourself forward. And I'm not being flippant about this because it's obviously the way I was brought up. But unless you push yourself forward to keep life itself.
Yes.
And life is moving, it's movement. Life isn't static.
Yes.
So even you have to participate in some way and adjust. But if you don't do that, we will just sit around and think, oh, I feel awful. And then the more you feel awful, the more you become that.
Okay.
So I was taught, if I didn't want to go to school and I said, oh, I don't feel well, even if I didn't feel well, my mother would say, well, if you're that ill, they'll send you home, get your coat on.
Yes.
And still had to walk to school. There were no cars then.
Yes.
So attitude in life, I think, is very important.
Would you say, to link it together, Anne, I think it's very important what you're talking about, that it's the same attitude, the same will that you need to sit down and write a thank you note or make a telephone call to say thank you. It's the same will that is propelling you to move after an operation or get yourself up moving to recover from an injury. Just get yourself moving, get your life going.
Absolutely.
It's the same will.
Yes.
So that leads me to think, if people are static, people are born static,
yes.
they don't move, they learn to walk. So everything in life, the majority of people, that is, will follow a path where they first learn to crawl, or first, if I'm honest, learn to bum shuffle.
Yeah.
There's nothing cuter than watching a baby shuffle its bum.
That's right.
Yeah. And they shuffle the bum across the floor and then they learn to crawl and then they're off 100 miles an hour, whizzing here, there and everywhere. And then tentatively they hold themselves up and they waddle. 1, 2, 3 claps, boom. And then they get back up. 1, 2, 3 clap, boom. And then eventually they catch their balance and they steady themselves and they walk and everybody celebrates. And then before you know it, you need eyes in the back of your head, in the top of your head and everywhere else as the children are flying around everywhere once they've learned to walk. But the point is, to move requires effort.
Yes.
And it's not easy.
No.
And children have to have an enormous amount of will, power to even stand, to even crawl, to even sit, and to take it even further back, to even be born. What willpower has to be shown by the mother to bring that baby, to bring that soul in physical into the world? What force, what will, what courage, what commitment to actually bring it forth? Now, that's the same pattern for the rest of life.
Yes.
It requires effort, it requires a commitment, it requires a determination, it requires a consistency. So what is a wonderful way that life can show us in how we can pattern that will into action? And we could call that work. We could call that a task. We could call that a sacred role in life, a function, a gift to share, work in one form, shape or another, because it gives us purpose and meaning, and it gives us the opportunity to train ourselves, to flower ourselves in terms of to blossom, and to take what we have in potential and bring it into the world. Because if we didn't do that, humans wouldn't grow. They would just sit still. They would just become what they are becoming now, which is bigger, slower, thicker, and more apathetic. And the world becomes more ungrateful. And that which is not good can thrive. So the determination and commitment to work, the determination and commitment to be grateful, the determination and commitment to life itself is a full-time job. It's a full-time role. Being human is a fully committed contract on a soul level. It's so important. And idleness, it's destructive. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
I know I've gone on a little bit there.
It makes sense.
I hope people aren't lost in the words. I hope so.
I think one of the hardest things that I myself found, as a mother, one of the hardest things for me, and I can only talk about myself, is watching and allowing your children to make mistakes.
Yes.
And sometimes harm themselves. That was one of the hardest things for me as a mother.
I can only but imagine.
Whereas it's the easiest thing would have been to say, I'll do it for you.
Yes, I understand what you mean.
So that was giving them the strength to do it themselves. And I can assure you there's many times I didn't like doing that. I didn't like watching them struggle.
Yes.
And you have to learn the moment where you step in and the moment where you step back.
Yes.
So again, as you're talking about life itself, that is part of life itself as well. Is that
it's important?
Everything isn't a positive in your own life. You make decisions that sometimes are not positive for yourself because it's easier.
I think it's really important what you're saying, Anne. I feel maybe a way to think about it is what we call positive and negative is the game of life. Yes. It's life. And not everything can be deemed positive or negative in any given moment, but everything can be meaningful.
Yes.
And that's the question. Do we want a positive life or do we want a meaningful life? Do you want life to be good or do you want your life to be purposeful? Because if you want your life to be good and positive, then you will experience the opposite in equal measure at different times.
Yes.
That which you deem to be bad, wrong, negative. If your life is purposeful, if you're living for purpose, if you're finding meaning in life itself, then it doesn't matter in that context what is happening to you, where you are and who you're with, because there is meaning in every moment. That doesn't mean we like it. That doesn't mean we want to stay in that place, both literally and experientially. But it means that we can find true beauty in life in every moment, that we're never not involved in creating the process. We're never not aware that everything in life is directly and deliberately orchestrating to create maximum meaning and maximum experience for us in any given moment. Too many people are too fixated on positivity, on good, or on even being happy. All of which are valuable, all of which are preferable in the vast majority of cases. Absolutely. I'm not here, like Ebenezer Scrooge and bar humbug and everything like that. No, not at all. I absolutely am all for let's turn towards the good. Let's turn towards that which is positive, that which is affirming, that which is strong and true, elevating and joyful and wonderful. Let us choose that. Let us choose that to the maximum effect for the maximum amount of people. And let us celebrate life. But if we are running away from what we deem to be negative, what we deem to be of challenge, what we deem to be perturbing and troubling, it will always have a hold over us. Our life is full of meaning. We are purposeful beings and we can bring power and purpose into any moment. So in our tears as well as our joy, in our moments of grief as well as our celebrations, the human being is a sacred, divine, meaningful, wonderful creature, and there is true beauty in every given moment. Every given moment has meaning and is purposeful. And it's so important. And knowing that doesn't make life easier.
No, it doesn't make
but
life
it can
easier.
bring a sense a true sense of connection, a true sense of feeling
Yes.
that every single being, every single child, all of you, everyone is of value. Every single being is of value. Everyone.
Yeah, I agree. Everybody is of value. And what I would like is, as I started with the season that we're in now.
Yes.
And we say this is the season of goodwill
Yes.
to all men.
Yes.
Goodwill to all men.
And women and children.
Well, all men is the human race.
I know. I was.
So
yes.
so goodwill to all men.
Yes.
And I think I would like the listeners at this time, if they could just take that phrase of the goodwill.
Yes.
We don't have to be goody-goody. We don't have to be running round with food parcels or with presents for all the street.
Yes.
The goodwill is making sure they're all right. If you've got a neighbour who's on their own, it doesn't do any harm to just knock on the door and say Happy Christmas. You don't have to give them anything. Just say Happy
Yes.
Christmas. It may be somebody who doesn't celebrate Christmas,
Yes.
but they still will appreciate you saying it to them.
Yes.
If you need, and Happy Christmas, if you need anything, just let me know.
Yes.
So I would like it to be not a season of presents and money and gluttony, because there's a lot of gluttony at Christmas.
There is.
Myself as well included. I've had lots of food, buy lots of food.
Okay.
I would like it to be, if you want fish and chips for Christmas Day, have fish and chips.
Yeah.
Have egg and chips.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be a Christmas dinner. Let us come away from show and go back to goodwill to all men.
Yes.
And that's the whole world.
Yes.
Whether it's Christmas or whether it's a Diwali, it doesn't matter. Let's have goodwill to everybody.
Yes. Goodwill
in
to
our own way.
every human being.
Yes.
Yes. And true peace on earth.
Mm.
I agree with you. Well said, Anne. And we all have that opportunity in every moment, and particularly at this time of year, to bring that to our attention and share that with each other.
Yes.
And a telephone call to somebody who may be on their own, a neighbour that you can go and say hello to and just check in that they're okay, a card that you could give to a work colleague, just asking somebody if they're okay, giving somebody a lift with their shopping into the car, giving somebody a lift, smiling at a stranger. They aren't trivial.
No. No, they're not.
They are meaningful. They are human. They are powerful. And in truth, they are us at our most glorious best.
Yeah.
Simple, honest, genuine, accessible, and universal. If people speak another language, if we are somewhere else on our planet Earth and it's another culture, goodness, respect, genuine human warmth is a universal felt experience.
Yes.
And these gestures are felt by all people. So let us send that out, as you said, to everybody.
Yes.
And I hope... Oh,
yeah.
go on, sorry.
And where there's discord, I would like... And because there is a lot of discord in this world at the moment, and where there is discord, you don't have to agree with anybody. None of us do. We have our own thoughts and our own actions. We don't have to agree.
Yes.
But it doesn't stop us picking up a phone and saying, I love you regardless.
Absolutely.
And that, to me, is the most important part.
I agree. I do agree. When we choose to prioritise our common good, our
Yes.
common peace over being right, where we can recognise that there is a deeper truth, a deeper magic to our world.
Yes.
Our faith, our togetherness, our life force unites us, even if we disagree on what it may mean or what we call it and how it presents itself. So, well said. Well, Anne, that's gone very quickly, as always.
Gone very quickly.
A rather passion-filled one this morning, and hopefully you've enjoyed it. And like Anne says, this isn't about telling people what to think. Think for yourself. Hopefully you found it interesting, maybe even inspiring. And if you think something else, that's absolutely fine. That's what we want, is people to think, people to feel, people to engage with their own conscience. And we can share our planet Earth in relative peace. That's the goal for every single child, forevermore. Well, here we go. Sorry, there we go, even, if I get my words out. Yes. Well, have a lovely rest of the weekend, everybody, and enjoy your week. And thank you for tuning in. And we look forward to being with you, speaking with you again next week. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.